Chrissy here from 3 p.m. and E1R. I am here to tell you all about our pit secrets. So we've been racing for about 10 years now, and we have come up with, we've had some failures, but we've also come up with some really great things that we use in our pits. I'm here to tell you some tricks. So even if you don't really care, even if you don't have space, I'm going to give you a whole bunch of ideas of what we do, and maybe you'll learn from something. I'm sure you will learn something. So right now we're in our basement. I'm going to take you through a couple places in my basement. Ignore all the stuff that's actually happening around. But I'm going to show you this is where all of our coolers live and then kind of go all the way back. But we have really good, we figured out the uses for a couple of our different sets of coolers. So I'm going to walk you through that and then a couple of appliances. Then we're going to talk about organization. Again, I know you think this is crazy, but having it all together and having a system is really going to help you arrive at the racetrack, not having to worry about your pit, and you're going to worry about your race car and all the other stuff that you're supposed to bring with you. So we're going to start talking about all of our coolers and appliances. So we're going to start with my favorite. As my mother calls it, Chrissy's mom calls this the casket. So I am 5'8". If you can picture how big this is, it's about almost the size of me. So we put all of our food in here. We can fit 3 days, about 16 to 20 people worth of food. We typically organize it with breakfast, lunch, dinner. We all keep all of those foods together. And one of the bigger things, as you can imagine, when we are on all of our races on the East Coast, it sometimes is really hot. So having a white cooler, a really large cooler, and then keeping it a lot of bricks of ice in between the food is really going to help you keep your food cool throughout the whole weekend. Typically, if we do it right, we keep enough ice in it. Don't steal the ice for your ice box or your cool box for your car because you know you're going to want to do that. Make sure you don't do that. And it keeps all your food cold. So I would suggest, I got this at Costco, but I'm sure they sell them other places, but I would suggest something very large. Keep all of your food together because that makes it a little bit easier. Um, so let's keep talking about coolers. So we have over here is we usually keep a separate cooler that is a normal size cooler. We keep this full of just ice. You can keep crushed and brick in here, but this is typically if somebody needs to go and get ice for your cool boxes, you're gonna just go right to there. Tell them to go to the orange cooler. Don't take it from your food cooler. So keep that in a separate spot. We have now three of these, and we typically use these because we really, you walk into a pit and you have water bottles everywhere. There's Gatorade bottles everywhere. And so we really typically use Nalgene's, which I'll show you in a little bit. But basically, we use reusable bottles and then have two of these set up, one with water and one with Gatorade. And we basically label that. You can't see it, but it says Gatorade on it. And we make Gatorade, which I'll show you the big tins of it. And it's much cheaper to buy a big thing of Gatorade and try to fill it all. We actually also use 2-liter bottles that fill with water. Put them in the ice, put them in the freezer, make them ice, stick them in here, and then swap them out and keeps everything cool in here. So we usually have a couple of those. I do suggest to have those. But speaking of ice and cool drinks, this fancy thing is an ice maker. You put ice in it. You put water in the bottom. It makes ice cubes, and sometimes it's spitting them out pretty quickly. It'll tell you when it's full, and then we just dump that right into a bag, put them in one of our coolers or in our RV that has a freezer. We put them in there, and then we have ice all weekend, which is pretty awesome. It's not enough to be able to, put in your cool box in your car, but it is really nice when it's a really hot race, especially when we were just at Thompson. Basically, you were just sweating the whole time, but having a cup with some fresh ice, not a bad thing. Also, like I said, we keep all of our coolers separate. So we have our food cooler, our ice cooler, and then we usually have a cooler that's about this size for drinks. So basically, we can continue to fill that. You have put your beer, your claws, whatever you're drinking this weekend, keep them all in here, and then keep rotating them through. This is kind of a crappy cooler. We have a little one that's a little bit better, keeps everything a little bit cooler. But I do suggest if you try to keep your drinks in one place, especially when it's at night. Especially when somebody leaves it open, when they're drunk, they can at least, you can keep them all separate away from your food. And lastly, I have my crock pot. So I keep a crock pot that is, this is actually just pretty much race only, but it's pretty big. And then we will talk about how to keep it clean later. That's a super secret. But basically I have just a normal, it has a couple, obviously it's dented because it's fallen out of a trailer once or twice, but it has a couple of different settings on it. Nothing fancy, no buttons, no nothing. If you want it on, if it says it's on, touch it, hot, okay, good, we're cooking. So we use crock pots throughout the weekend, crock pot meals throughout the weekend. We want to make sure that people the food's ready, and also that nobody's a slave to the stove. We do have a grill. We grill at night, especially Friday nights, but we really do try to have lunches Saturday and Sunday when people are running around. Throw something in the crock pot, have it available for everybody to get whenever they're out of the car, whenever they feel like eating. I usually give a last call, so make sure that everybody gets some kind of food. Um, so yeah, we have a couple different kinds of coolers, but that's cooler. It's a cooler world, and we're gonna go head over to the pantry, and then we're gonna go over to where I keep all my stuff to keep us organized. So I will hit you back in a second, and you will be on the different side of um, my space here. As promised, we are now looking at the pantry. Our pantry is very fancy. You see, it is a lovely Lowe's Depot plastic set of shelves. I'd have to admit, as you're looking through here, some of the stuff is for the race, some of it's not. Some of it's for our house. That happens. But I would suggest shopping in bulk. So we go to Costco. I usually try to do a Costco run or Costco. We go out of your big box store, get things in bulk. It's a little bit easier to keep track of. And again, as we move over to our organization area, you'll see that a lot of the stuff is from Costco, but we'll just use that for now. I try to keep track of all of the race stuff, and we try to shop for everything that we need together. I try to keep that all together just so I can kind of keep track of what's for the race and what's for not. You can do that or not. But some of the couple of things that I wanted to point out to you so as I was mentioning, we use Nalgene. So we do have a couple of these for our friends. If you're new to our race team, you get one that doesn't have anything on it. If you are not new to our race team and you've forgotten your bottle, you get the bottle of shame. That's what it says, shame. So you get the bottle of shame. So that's coming with us because you never know who's going to forget their water bottle. But like I said, usually we have, I buy, a bunch of ketchups or all of those toppings. You get them in bulk. We also, like I was saying, that we do Gatorade. So we buy them in either a Gatorade this size or this size, depending on which Amazon or Costco or Walmart, whatever they have. But it really does behoove you to keep track of it, keep a lot of it. Why buy bottles? Why buy the tiny powders when you know that it'll we stick with yellow and blue. You can take whatever color you want. If you're setting up your own pit, you do have a little bit of leeway on picking the kinds of things you like. That's kind of why I like to do it because I like to be able to make my own choices, make my own food if I want to. But that's up to you guys. So like I said, this is a pack of 3 of when sometimes we get meatballs and sausage from Costco. Dump it all right in the crock pot. Dump one of these or 2 depending on how much you're making. So you can just add some sauce to it. Really pretty easy. One of the other things that I do, we do have a couple coffee drinkers on our team. So I buy the coffee from Costco and then I put it in a container so I'm not bringing the whole thing with me. So at some point, somebody drank a Maxwell House coffee and it does say on there, I scribbled on there, it says good coffee to make sure that people are like, oh, you're serving that? No, it's nice. It's good coffee. Whether people believe me, now they just know this is what it comes in because I buy it in bulk and it's easier to bring it in a little bit container, keep refilling because chances are if you're drinking this much of coffee at a race, you're probably winning because you're going fast and so hyped up. But typically we can get through. A smaller container, dump this stuff into it, and keep refilling it. Keep it in your basement. So yeah, so that's what's most of what we do. We try to keep track of most of our stuff in supply, figure out what we need for each race. We do switch up our menu sometimes in a race, so we don't always need all of these supplies. But I would do suggest you buy in bulk and keep it all in one central place so you know what you have. We're going to head over to organization. Okay, we're in the organization area, also filled with stuff that for us. And I apologize about the lighting. This is what we've got to deal with. So I'm going to show you. I organize all of my stuff in. I occasionally have a bag or 2, but found that boxes, Tupperware kind of containers, just like this one, are going to do so much. Once you throw a bag in the back of your truck, in the back of your trailer, it's going to fall over. Everything's going to get crushed in it. So this is so much an easier way. And I do keep track of all the 3 boxes that we use, and I'll show you them. So first is the boring one. It usually it arrives full, comes home empty. This one is kind of the food catch-all, right? So as I said, we get bulk chips, bulk popcorn, and all of the stuff that I actually showed you that was from over there. So we put all of our Gatorade bottles, coffee, ketchup. When we figure out what our menu is going to be, we're going to put the leftover food in here as well. Also, like if we're going to have hamburgers, we will probably have Wartburgers because that's what we do. Wartburgers, buns are going to go in here. Things that shouldn't really try to get crushed too much. So we'll basically try to put all of the heavy stuff on the bottom, put them onto the top. I also occasionally use IKEA bags because you can basically put everything that you need to in one IKEA bag. And so put all of your uh, and so then you can kind of put one bag carefully onto the top of your truck and try to keep everything else from getting crushed. Okay, so that's box number one. As I said, 2 more boxes coming here. So the second one is paper goods. So this is one of those, make sure that you put this away when it's raining. Make sure you put the lid on, but try to really keep track of all of the paper goods in one place, especially when you organize everything and you don't know and nobody can find you and they want to figure out what they need. If you make all of the boxes what you think that somebody's going to look for, then they'll be able to find it. So as I said, I try to keep track of all of the paper stuff in one place. So I have bags of, so as I said, we go to Costco. When I buy forks, we buy lots of forks. So we have them forever. I did just buy this one. This will probably last me another year or so. But I do keep a stockpile of them, especially with forks. Put them in a bag like this. Now, of course, when you have a whole bunch of people around, you're not going to have it in something like this. So one time in Amish land, which is not too far from my house, I picked this up, and this is one of those, and hopefully you've they all live in here, and then they can be refilled really easily. So once you have a meal, especially if you've got a lot of people coming through, I put this out, refill it all, and so it's really pretty easy. And also you have napkins in here as well. I do hide my sugar for my coffee drinkers in so that's pretty easy to find if they need it there. But that's way so you can not have to have everybody rummaging through. Another thing is pretty popular is to buy something that's like this. When you buy it from Costco, you buy them already separated like this, but the thing is this breaks and it often isn't refilled. And if you only bring this, maybe for your paddock, that's all you need. Maybe you can have this and then just buy the refills and then keep refilling them. But this is kind of a versatile way to be able to keep track of all of the stuff that needs to go out on the table when right before you have a meal. So you could do both, but I prefer the basket. It doesn't have to be a basket. Could be a couple cups. Something that you make that has kind of 3 dins and then somewhere to put your napkins. So yeah, and basically we use paper goods only. I live next to a landfill. I hate waste, but I can't keep up with dishes. So we'll talk about dishes in a little bit, but paper plates are just easy because people are going to take them away and they're going to, they're not going to bring them back. So if you give them a plate, chances are they won't bring them. You won't know what happened to them. So basically, I do actually bring a couple different sizes, and I do usually make sure that I bring bowls if we're going to have something that needs a bowl, chili or soup or something like that. Sometimes it's better to have. I have paper plates like the really thin kind. If you're just gonna have a sandwich, I sometimes will put these out just so we're not wasting a whole lot. This feels like a little bit less than a Chinette plate. And then going the other direction, I do usually sometimes have the really thick. Actually, there's some right here. Actually, there's styrofoam. I do occasionally have the really thick Chinette. If we're gonna have something that's really messy or you're like a steak that you need to cut, it's a little bit easier to have a plate that's all apart on you. So I usually do bring different sizes, and of course we bring plenty of paper towels, coffee, the coffee. So everything that's in this place is all kind of dry goods, is what I call it. And then coffee cups, I do usually keep track. Then solo. So I do have some solo cups. I know we talked about bottles, but sometimes I don't like to mix my water that I'm going to drink right before I get in the car with my rum and Coke or whatever I'm going to have. So I do usually have somebody just needs a quick drink or something. I can't find their bottle, but it's easy just to be able to give them some cups. But I usually only a couple people know that I have them. The one thing that I didn't talk about, so when I said we do use crock pots, here is the secret of the lifetime: crock pot liners. They do sell them at grocery stores. I get them in a bunch of packs at Amazon. It is plastic. It looks like it should melt, but it doesn't. It's amazing. I don't know what they make it out of, but basically it should fit over a crock pot, and this is much bigger than my crock pot. Really, I don't think there's a crock pot big enough that it doesn't fit in. But basically, it's like a plastic bag. You put it into your crock pot, and then you, as soon as you're done with your food, wrap it up. Sometimes I will even, if I have food left in the crock pot, but I need to use it for another meal, I'll take this bag out, put it in a bowl, and then anybody who else wants to finish it up, which I do have some people on my team that like to scrounge. Sometimes I'll just leave this out. People will eat it, and then I can just throw it away. And it's really actually pretty clean. Every once in a while, there is some kind of residue in the bottom of the crock pot, but it's so much easier, especially when you're having something that's sauce or something that you're chili, things that you just don't want to clean up even in your sink. It's so much easier to have something like this. So I do suggest you get them. If you have any crock pot meals, don't forget them. Usually only try to bring as many as I'm going to have crock pot meals, but sometimes I do bring a couple extra. Super great thing. This should be your key of the talk that we're having here. Okay, so that's most of the dry stuff. So keeping it all together, keep it dry, especially when you go to bed, and hopefully you remember before you go to bed. But you never know when it's going to rain, you never know when there's going to be dew or something like that. So I usually just put everything that I need and throw it all right in that box, and then that's the first thing they take it out in the morning. And box number 3 is what I call my lemons box. So I have been, as we said, we've been doing this for about 10 years. So I do have, I accumulate a lot of stuff, and this is kind of where it goes. So this is kind of the everything else. This is the utensils to serve food, washing stuff. It also does, if you dig deep down, you might find some old lemons themes and all kinds of stuff. So one of the couple things that is really important here is that, so I do have a dish strainer. So I keep this and all of our dirty dishes go in there. So I do have a couple of platters that we, when we have pancakes in the morning or we have some kind of sandwiches or some really indestructible, pretty good plates that, or platters that I keep. So once you have a meal, you have a couple of them that are dirty, they can just go right into this bin. Also in this box is all of our utensils. Probably about 1,000 sets of tongs. I don't really bring anything from my house. I try to keep it here. If you've come to a potluck and you're missing a tong, spatula, spork, whatever, come find me because I'm sure I have it and I keep it all in here. So some of it is accumulated, but some of it's like, a random set from, what's that really fancy place? Sharper Image, because people were like, yeah, this is a great set. So I have stuff like that, but really that's what goes in here, and then it's all kind of just accumulates, but I don't really bring anything from home. The other things that I have is a couple of these flat cutting boards. I try not to cut meat on them, but you never know when you're going to need to cut something. So rather than cutting the table, it's easy to have these, and then they clean up really well. So like I said, all of these things, once you use them, go in the bucket lid under our table. So as soon as we're done with a meal, throw all this stuff in. And then if you've listened to our show on E1R, if you've heard of a dishwashing fairy, this is where it comes from. So Steve on our team knows when the dishes need to be done. Usually I'm scrambling somewhere and he picks them up and does them. So appreciate that. But like I said, there's all kinds of, there's bug spray, there's lighters, there's tin foil. Like I said, there's basically I just keep as my catch-all. I do bring bowls, so when we have pancakes in the morning, I can just use this, and this actually just lives in there. Obviously, you can see it's been melted, but this lives in this box too. So, and I do bring a little bit of dish soap. So, and then I usually have a sponge. I usually use a different sponge every race because it gets gross and I don't want to really use it again. So I don't know where it's been, don't know who's used it on what. So I throw it. But I do try to keep some dish soap in a smaller bin, so don't have to lose that. So that's my kind of this bin and kind of catch all. I did want to say a couple things. Like I said, we do use a couple bags. So I don't even know where I got this bag, but it's really heavy duty. And we do have a couple soda drinkers on our team. So basically a bag like this is pretty nice. I can put about 6 bottles in here and it will carry pretty easily. So this is kind of thing also to throw in the back of the truck or in the trailer. And it will pretty much stand up. Everything can kind of hit it and won't really matter. So I usually do also, what I didn't talk about in this bag is I usually bring some bags. So I have trash bags, but I also try to keep sandwich bags. And, people want to take cookies home or take some kind of food home. Or we don't have any containers for leftovers, which we don't typically have leftovers, but every once in a while we do. And they can go in bags like that. So A couple of these things are just like, are there easy things to prepare, especially if you start getting a stockpile, like as I showed you behind me. Lots of paper towels, make sure you bring them. I always end up with people stealing them for a race car, or you try to clean up an oil mess, and then I'm left with not having anything to wash our hands or wash the tables with. But yeah, so I think that's most of what we do in our pit. If you have any questions, please let me know. Write it in the comments. Write us C1A, E1R. Like I said, this is from a lot of failures, but really has come to be a really great way to organize your pit. Takes a little bit of time, takes a little bit of effort, takes planning, but really once you get there and you have your own way to organize, and that's what I always say is that in any part of your life, everybody has their own way to organize. So I think once you figure out your niche, you figure out where you're gonna, how you're gonna organize, and then keep up with it and make changes as you find it. So if you have any questions, like I said, come hit me up. Come over to our paddock next race. As long as you stay a little bit away, I'm happy to show you. Happy to talk to you, talk anything through with you, and I can't wait to see your pit set up. So send me pictures, send me what you do. If you have any good hints for me, I'm always open to it. So thanks for watching, and have an awesome night.